Every single day, those union bosses have to work on behalf of those employees, and they've got to convince them to join that union. Right to work is not just good for the state, it's good for the worker as well, and absolutely, I support it 100%.
Thank you. Mr. Nesbitt, how do you feel about organized labor, and do you support a right to work law going into place?
As a farm boy, I've worked all my life, and I understand the importance of hard work, and I have a clear record on voting for right to work, opposing Governor Whitmer in her proposal to actually take away that from the state. Believe me, we're up against Jocelyn Benson next year. And you look at what Governor Whitmer and the Democrats have done in Lansing is they continue to make it tougher and tougher for our job providers and our workers to make it here in Michigan. They repealed right to work. They passed the Green New Deal that increases the cost of energy. Average family is going to pay $2,400 more per household. That's going to make it tougher to invest and grow jobs here in Michigan. While industrializing hundreds of thousands of acres of farm and forest land. That's wrong, that needs to be stopped. All while increasing the state's income tax. Increasing the amount of bureaucracy and regulations in the state of Michigan. You guys know who Mike Rowe is, right? Dirty Jobs. He was in Michigan a few months ago, and he said, for every 5 people retired from the trades, there's only 2 people replacing them. If we're going to rebuild our economy, if we're going to rebuild our manufacturing base, if we're going to say we're open for business, we got to make sure we have folks that are ready for the trades. And unfortunately, over the last 25 years, from politicians in Lansing and D.C., they've continued to say everybody needs to go into these socialist indoctrination units in college. We need to get back to the trades and making sure that our economy is successful, lower the cost of living, lower the cost of insurance, lower the cost of energy. And it'd really be nice if the other candidate was here and actually answer some of these questions. We're still waiting to hear where John James is actually on a lot of these issues.
Thank you very much. Frank Cox, do you support a right to work law and your take on labor unions?
Yes, David. In fact, if you go to my website, Mike Cox 2026, there's over 50 pages of information on a variety of issues that change our economy and change our education system to make Michigan a great state to work in and to make Michigan smarter again. And it's been there since April 15th when I announced on tax day. And why did I announce on tax day? Because my primary focus is on making Michigan prosperous through eliminating the tax on work, the income tax. Now, why do I say that in answer to a question on right to work? Because every question I will ask as governor, every policy will be viewed through 2 lenses. Does it make our economy better, or does it make our education system better? And so we know the fastest growing states in America all have 2 things in common. 1, they've eliminated the income tax. And number 2, they have right to work. Tennessee, Texas, Florida, you name it. Right across the border in Indiana, they have right to work. And where are the jobs in West Michigan that are leaving West Michigan going to? Right across the border in Indiana. There's a lot of reasons: less regulation, a lower income tax, and right to work. That I know of, I'm the only person who's running for governor who's actually started their own business from scratch. I spent the past 14 years not in Lansing, but actually out creating jobs. And during that time of creating jobs, I've encountered many businesses, and right to work is about 2 things. Worker freedom, because I too was in a union, the laborers union, and a prosecutors union when I was a Wayne County prosecutor for 13 years. So there's worker freedom, but also job attraction, because businesses want to go where there's less friction. They want to go where they're welcome. And Michigan for too long has said only union jobs are welcome. I say all jobs are welcome in the next Michigan. Union and non-union, that's the benefit of right to work. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, we now begin another round here. We begin with Ralph Rebant, if I got my numbers correct here. And this may have to do as well with population loss. As you know, housing has gotten incredibly expensive around the country, but also here in the state of Michigan. And it didn't used to be that way. When it comes to housing, it has gone from one of the least expensive states to now one of the more expensive states to buy a home. What policies do you support to bring down the cost of housing in the state of Michigan? Is there any role for the government in doing so?
Yes, the government, by the way, just as a point of reference, I really need to go to lunch with Brother Mike because I just mentioned last Friday night that we have, that I've and started small businesses myself. So I just wanted to let you all know that we know what it's like to live on nothing and start a small business and put everything into it. And I see Carla shaking her head as well. Needless to say, though, on the housing industry issues, COVID has really screwed all of us. The prices were jacked up, and it hasn't come down. I have been in the building trades. My father-in-law is a builder. As I mentioned to other people, I built 3 homes. And what can the government do to help out? Well, one of the things that I mentioned earlier is that the young people are saying, we want affordable housing. So how do you do that? Well, that's why I'm with Carla on this, that if we remove property tax, when you sit there and you go through all of that whole list of things that you're paying for monthly, your house insurance, your payment, principal, etc., if that property tax line is gone, it's going to make homes more affordable. There are 20-some% of kids today that are under 30 that are not married, they don't own a home, and they're wondering if they ever will. And so we have to, as those who are running the state, keep that in our minds and filter through everything. How do we make the housing industry more affordable? And so I personally can't control what builders charge, I know that, but what we can do is we can make the environment such that we are lowering and helping young people by lowering property taxes. I hate to keep coming back to that, but it's so factual and so true.
All right. Ralph Rebet, thank you. Anthony Hudson, the same thing. Rent, housing, trying to buy a house is nearly impossible for a lot of families nowadays. Is there anything you would do as governor to change that?
Absolutely, and like Ralph, I have to point out that I was a business owner as well. I owned a trucking company for 10 years before COVID. So there's not just one business owner up here or someone that's built a business from the ground up. Most of us have, just for point of reference here. Again, the property taxes, like Ralph said, is a major issue in the state of Michigan. I think when COVID came around, we saw department stores like Menards, Home Depot jacked up their pricing, the price gouging crisis. I think we need to get our hands on that and control that aspect of it. I think it's illegal in most states for price gouging of materials. But if you look at our policies as a whole, my goal is to enrich you, to put your money back in your pocket, stop paying an oversized treasonous government in Lansing and start paying yourself. That's what we get when we get rid of no-fault car insurance. You get cheaper at fault. You get no more auto registrations every single year on your birthday. That puts money back in your pocket. Getting rid of the state income tax, that puts money back in your pocket. So we are finding ways to cut the size of government by 28% to get our budget back to a manageable level so that you have more of your paycheck, your retirement, or your pension, so you can do what you need to do, which in a lot of cases for young kids makes them eligible to buy a home. If you can pay rent in Michigan, you can buy a home, because rent in Michigan is through the roof. When you get rid of the property taxes, landlords then will have to bring their costs down for rent, because they themselves are no longer paying property taxes. It doesn't go into the rent. So all of this is going to tailor around what we do with property taxes and how aggressive we want to be to enrich you, not them. Thank you.
Anthony Hudson, thank you so much. Tom Leonard, the same question is posed to you.
So last 5 years, rent is up 40%, the average home cost up $100,000. Well, look at the human element for just a moment. I mentioned that I want to keep my kids here. Think of the stress that it puts on a young couple if when they purchase a home, 70% of their income is going to that mortgage. No more date nights. They can't go on vacation, but you know what? Now they're struggling to start a family. You've created a situation where the marriage is likely going to end in divorce because of the stress that's put on that couple. We've got a complete section right here in our path forward dedicated to affordable housing. What do we got to do? Licensure reciprocity. Why is it that my uncle, who is a journeyman electrician, South Carolina, married my aunt, moved here. It took him 4 months to find a job. Not because one wasn't available, but because he had to jump through all the hoops and pay all the fees to actually get one. I say licensure reciprocity. If you are certified to work in another state, show up here, show us your certification, we will put you to work immediately. Regulatory reform. Last November, there were 2 bills that were introduced in the legislature. One was going to put a burden on electricians, the other one plumbers. Guess what? The one that involved plumbers made it to the governor's desk. The one that involved electricians died. Why? Because the environmentalists showed up and said, if you sign this bill into law, we will no longer be able to have the workforce available to take over thousands of acres of farmers' farms and put up all these solar panels. You have legislators in Lansing right now that care more about taking over your fields, putting up solar farms, than they do building affordable housing for your loved ones. That is wrong. Licensure reform, regulatory reform, we've got to get it done.
John Leonard, thank you. Eric Nesbitt, the same question goes to you.
Governor Whitmer and the Democrats in Lansing just made it tougher and tougher for families to make it here in Michigan. Right now, the average age of a new homeowner, brand new homeowner, is 38. It's up nearly 10 years just in the last few years. It's tough to make it here in Michigan. And when you ask folks what's going to make a difference, electing Jocelyn Benson next year is not going to help. She's going to keep that Green New scam that's going to industrialize hundreds of thousands of acres of farm and forest land, going to continue to have this mismanagement and crime in our urban areas that we've seen. It needs to end. As I look at it, the average cost of a new home, just from regulations, is $95,000. I was talking to a home builder in Livingston County a few weeks ago, and he said, that seems awfully high. I'm like, well, go ahead, do your numbers, stretch it out. He came up with $93,000. That needs to end. The regulations from Whitmer and the Democrats needs to end, because I don't know about you, $95,000 for a farm boy like me is a lot of money. And that increases the rent and the cost here in Michigan. The trades. You're going to have folks actually building houses, just the basic supply and demand. Electricians, plumbers, builders, folks that want good family-supporting jobs that can't be exported. With AI and other things, we've got to get back with the trades, and that means opening up in our high schools to make sure they're career-ready on day one when they're graduating. And instead of a governor who's giving away free housing to illegal aliens, I'm going to stand with President Trump. I'm going to make sure every criminal illegal alien in the state of Michigan is actually exported. Those are the ones that shouldn't be able to make it here in Michigan. And so as you look at next year's more than just an election. It's about the direction of Michigan. We're going to make it more affordable for families to actually make it here in Michigan.
Eric Nesbitt, thank you. My same question. The cost of housing used to be low here in Michigan. Has gone up now to be one of the most expensive states in the country for rent and mortgage and just the cost of a home. Is there anything you would do as governor to bring that down?
Yes, thank you, Tom. As the son of a carpenter who immigrated to Michigan and chose Michigan above every other state because he could own his own home in Michigan, I feel the weight of the housing costs upon our citizens today. So let me start with a couple easy statistics. Instead of $90,000 a house, if you go to the Michigan Home Builders website today, you'll find that 25% of the cost of every new house is regulation. And as governor, I would focus on that. Number two, think about what happens if you eliminate the income tax. And I'm the only one who's on this stage, or in this race, who's talking about eliminating it completely. If you eliminate the income tax, what happens? If you have a 25, 26-year-old couple, in 2 or 3 years, they have the money to be able to afford a down payment. So that's number two. Number three, regulation is the hidden tax that this government puts on us. But it didn't just start with Governor Whitmer. Republicans have been engaged in it as well. And I fought regulation out in the private sector as an attorney and in my own business, which you can actually Google and find. So I fought regulation, state regulation. So what does it mean? Think about this. You get up in the morning, you get in your car, and you have to pay higher car insurance than anywhere else, almost anywhere else in the country. You go to work, and you have to work a chunk of the time for the government. You get home, and your house costs more because the Green New scam costs more money when you turn on your light. Your house costs more here in Michigan because government overregulates it. And by the time you go to bed, you're wiped out. So I would focus on eliminating regulations, eliminating the income tax to create more freedom for you and the ability to afford to live in Michigan and make Michigan affordable again, make Michigan great again.
Well,
Thank you.
Mike Cox, thank you so much. Carla Wagner, we pose the same question to you.
Could you just repeat the question, please?
Yes, the cost of housing in Michigan, both rent and to purchase a house, used to be among the lowest in the country. It is now among the highest in the nation to buy or rent a home in which to live. Is there anything you would do as governor to bring that cost down?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have been a licensed residential contractor or home builder for 40 years, and I'm also a real estate agent. So I'm pretty familiar with this. I'm also on the state board of the Home Builders Association. What I see, and I think all of these gentlemen have expressed it, number one, regulation. We have a huge problem at the township level and at the county level. We have township and county officials, mostly township officials, that really don't understand very much about zoning and ordinances and how to build and construction and all of that kind of stuff. I'm experiencing this right now in my own township. It's taken 2.5 years and they still haven't approved a project, even though we have an affordable housing crisis. For a township to delay something for 2.5 years, and on that other note is Eagle, which is horrible, a horrible department we need to pare down or get rid of altogether. I had to pay $55,000 to buy a piece of property in Eaton County that will never have my name on the deed because I'm mitigating a little tiny bit of wetlands for my project. So this is what runs these costs up. When you talk about regulation, you talk about zoning, you talk about permitting, you talk about right now the Home Builders Association is suing the state because of the latest code book that has come out. It will increase the cost of building a home by about 30% for single family homes. So these are your small business builders, but yet we are spending billions of dollars to create affordable multi-family units. If we just eliminate the property tax, once again, elimination of property tax makes housing more affordable, makes rent more affordable. That is where I would start, but we have to do something with these townships, these counties, and the regulations and zoning.
Thank you so much. Time's up. Carla Wagner, thank you so much.
Okay, another round here. The sixth question we have, well, we're going to start with Mr. Rebant. Under the current model, the state offers hundreds of millions of dollars up. Sorry.
Anthony.
Oh, I thought we did.
Ralph was last question.
This guy.
Sorry about that.
Now you gotta say it again.
Anthony Hudson. Yeah, we're starting with
Sorry
Anthony.
with Anthony. Okay, I apologize.
Ralph got the first one on the last time. So we'll
Sorry, I apologize. Okay.
Happy to let him go.
Here we go. Okay, Mr. Hudson. Under the current model, the state offers hundreds of millions of dollars up front and then hopes the company meets future targets. As governor, would you require automatic clawbacks, escrow, or performance bonds before any check goes out? Spell out what protections taxpayers would get under you that they're not getting now.
So, great question, Dave. Wow. So I live in Genesee County, and this is a county where this exact thing is happening at this very moment. We have a semiconductor plant trying to go in and take up all the farmland in Mundy Township, and the MEDC has come in and paid the company $259 million of your tax-paying dollars so that company can pick up and leave town. And Dana Nessel, where's Kevin? Dana Nessel has no plans to go after that money and give it back to the people where it belongs. $259 million repairs every road in Genesee County. Tom lives in Genesee County, he knows. We have got to have accountability with government and stop fronting the money to these businesses where we have no idea what their end game is. None of you go to work and get paid on Monday and then work